and everything is in between, which colors, in order to tell the story. Because any image is a visual energy. A visual energy has an incredible impact in ourselves. Practically we feel emotion if you are in front to a very warm color, or very cold color, or very darkness or light and so on. So that was what my concept at the time. Uh, I will never understand this one. And I was using this concept in different films. This is called, it is a pity, she's a horror. It's a very dramatic story, directed by Giuseppe Patroni Griffi, written by John Ford, not the director. John Ford was a writer in the 16th century in England. It's an incredible love story between a brother and sister. Step by step, the more I was selecting the film that I was accepting to do as a cinematographer, because I really think that I don't think that we can do every story, that we can work with every director. There is some kind of journey that we're doing. When we are very young, we do it in an unconscious way. Step by step, we understand exactly who we are, where we're going to go, which kind of area that we are interested. So our selection is practically, we follow our instinct or our desire. To different projects. Because I was not feeling any relationship with the story, with the director. And I think that in our life, sometimes it's much more important to say no than to say yes. For one simple reason. You tell everybody the direction that you don't want to go, that you have some kind of vision. Maybe you lose some work, but people understand if they need to reach some kind of result, they might need you, that you go in that specific reason. And our professional is made by encounter with people and have kind of a connection in a kind of emotion. And I was lucky to meet those kind of directors that I showed you before. And they felt, they called me because they saw maybe only one film of myself. Coppola called me because he saw The Conformist. Bertolucci called me because he saw the Giovinezza Giovinezza. Vitti called me because he saw 1900, and so on. So I tell him very clear who I am, where I want to go, and which kind of area probably is the one that I feel to perform. And without any doubt, the selection was in searching for myself. That's what we do when we're working. Practically everything we do is because we are trying to give answer to our own questions, try to understand who we are, try to understand if there is something that you can achieve in our mind in that kind of profession, which is the meaning of our own life. That's really what it is. Step by step, I realized that the meaning of my life was try to have this kind of understanding between two different moments of my life, two different elements, two different things. In this one, the story is between love, doesn't matter if it's who they are, brother, sister, mother, father, man, woman, black, white, yellow, whatever, but it's love, or whatever is the principle that any country, every region, every family is dictated in the way that you're supposed to live. The problem of Marcello Greci in The Conformist was the fact that when he was touched by by that man, he revealed some kind of emotion in himself. And only at the end, when he reencountered the kind of man that they felt that he killed, is still alive, he realized that he was feel different, not because he was an assassin, but because he was an homosexual. He never accepted something like that. Particularly at the time in history, it was almost impossible to feel or to accept that you are different. So the fact that only when you put anything in any moment of our life that you're not able to accept, you put inside to an area called unconscious, that we can present visually with darkness, with shadows, with something that you don't know, that you don't see, but you keep in secret. Till when you, step by step, if you grow up in a balanced way, you realize who you are, and you accept who you are, and that you feel that you are a free man or free woman. That's really the journey that we're doing all the time, all of us. And this story is the story about an impossible love between two men and women only because they are brother and sister. Or they can be two women or two men or whatever. That was the meaning of this major story. And at the time, the chance that I had in doing this movie to investigating, do research, that's the most important thing in our profession. Before we really start to perform, the more research we can do to understand the main concept of the story and how we can interpret it, we can visualize the story. And of course, the more connection we can have with the past. So a renaissance, particularly in Italy, we had such major artists, in painting particularly, that if you want to look for some kind of reference, you have plenty of examples that maybe can suggest you something that after you can probably continue what they did in painting in cinematography. In this is another great Italian painter. This is La Battaglia di San Romano. That if you can imagine, Paolo Uccello is his name. You know, when you go into a museum, you see through this kind of painting where somebody is being called visionary. What visionary mean? Somebody can see beyond. Somebody can see in front. Somebody can see even more ahead of us. In every museum that you go, this is it. One is in Florence. There are three paintings. This is in Florence, this is in Louvre, and this is in London. But it's the same battle, the same thing. You know, when you go into the museum in all around the world, usually you go from one room to another, and you see the evolution of the art. Do you see room? There are 11th century, 12th century, 13th century, 14th century, so on. Well, when you are in Florence and you see this painting, and you still are in 14th century, you say, oh my God, this is so advanced that maybe is misplaced. No, it's the painter that is a great genius. While everybody was doing the golden area in wood, so on, Barna da Siena, many other painters, this guy arrived to paint these kind of things. This was my concept to do Orlando Furioso. You know, Orlando Furioso is a poem from Ludovico Ariosto, great poet in Italy in the 16th century again. And it was directed by Luca Ronconi. Luca Ronconi was one of the best theater director that we had in Italy. And the chance that he had to put together this incredible show in theater, not in the normal theater, but in the square or into an empty church, in a space where audience and actor were living together. And you were surrounded by all those kind of elements of 16th century elements, and you were almost feeling to be part of this kind of a show. There was an incredible emotion. We did for television. It was, of course, when you move some kind of story, it's an incredible story between Italy and France at the time and so on, the night fighting against each other. We select one building mainly, one of the Renaissance building. We selected different levels that we can dress it in such way that symbolically we can have the different part of the world, let's say. And what was great about this part of my journey is the fact that we have to, like they only you do in theater, you have to invent a vision. It's not something realistic. You come into the one room and you see this is the kitchen, this is the sitting, or this is whatever. No, for example, we had in one totally empty large room with some kind of leaves in the floor, and one tree, one horse that was totally funny, just moving on the track. And we created a forest. And we creating, so we light the idea that you show, no show, warm or cold, darkness or light, you can create this kind of fantasy world. And this movie helped me a lot to start to think idea. They are completely different from what is the reality. Today, the major work that I can see usually all around the world, particularly when we had these major changes between photochemical and digital. Yes, you take a camera, you put everywhere you put it, and you see an image. But that doesn't need what you see is good, or is perfect, or is in balance of what you are trying to express. That's all the kind of work that we do. Turning on this light or turning off, change completely this room. Having one color or another, changing completely the atmosphere. So today, the most tragedy that's happened to us, apart from some director, some cinematographer, some project, the more or less all around the world, we have a kind of unique vision, which is what we have in front of us. A film or theater or television has nothing to do with reality because it's an interpretation of everything. When we arrived with Bernardo Bertolucci back again in France, thinking to do Lost Tango in Paris, I remember that while I was doing Orlando Furioso, I was used to traveling every Saturday and Sunday to Paris to meet Bernardo Bertolucci, do the location, try to think in the kind of vision he wants to have. And I said to Bernardo, well, being in Paris again, we had that incredible idea to have the entire Paris blue for the conformists. And later on, I realized the kind of feeling the blue can give it to us. I made by instinct, by emotion. And now I think we need something totally opposite. Once again, the fact that I was doing the location completely in winter, I saw Paris completely very dark in light, winter light, cloudy, dark. And during the daytime, all the city lights were on. Paris will look like the city of light. And again, the relationship between artificial and natural energy gave me the idea, if we use the natural energy at the end of the day, at dusk, a magic hour, in the conformist, Now, during the day, we're using the artificial light, having this kind of warm glow in relation to the natural light, which is very cold. And I felt that there was some kind of emotion with this orange color, totally opposite of what I had with the blue color during the conformist. As I mentioned to you, again, I was not clear into my mind about the meaning of the color, but I felt that there was the good one, there was the right one. I remember that one of the last journeys I did from Rome to Paris, I arrived ready to start filming, and Bernardo said to me, Vittorio, come, let's go to the Petit Palais, let's see the exhibition of Francis Bacon, a painter. But it looked like he is doing exactly what we are doing. He already did. There is a room with a circular room with a man and woman making love. In one side there is the light and somebody that is writing, like is writing the story. And the other side there is also a camera that is shooting. Look like it's a manifesto of the film. And we were shocked about to find this kind of analogy between painting and what we are preparing to do. The idea of orange was not coming from Francis Bacon. We already did. But Francis Bacon gave it to us an incredible idea. You notice that in his face, in every character, he's putting something, almost you feel the unconscious that is in front of this page. It's kind of mask. In every painting of Francis Bacon, you never see the natural face. But you see something else. Almost the chance to see what is inside of this man in his own face. So like in René Magritte, when we started with the conformist, that René Magritte has another chance if you really carefully look at his painting. The nothing is painted in one surface. Most of the time there is a window open, that you see something else behind. You see a door open, you see something else over there. Then you see sometimes the same image of the background painted on the foreground. Practically it tells you how in a two dimension, like a painting or like cinema, he was able to give you a three-dimensional feeling. The nothing is ending in front of you. Everything can go beyond. It's something very subtle. But from the Spati stratagem, the first film that we did together with Bernardo, and the conformist on, most of the time you can have this kind of feeling. There is something that go over, they go beyond, they go on the other side. Those little elements that you can catch from one painting, it really helps you to try to put image in cinema that can have multiple meaning. But the main meaning is the fact that there is a kind of not only mystery, but the kind of feeling that you put in the kind of image. The image is not just because it's there, but because you want in that way. That's the most important thing.